Hey, everybody, and welcome back to In the Chair with Dr. Gina Conversations Beyond the Chapter. Episode 3 Ethics is what you do before something goes wrong. This week's conversation covers ethics, legal considerations, risk management, informed consent, privacy, security, licensure, duty to warn, emergency planning, and malpractice coverage. I know, right? Everyone's favorite reading. I can practically feel your excitement coming through the screen. But hold with me, okay? We're going to talk about this content a little bit differently. Because over the years, I've noticed students, counselors in training tend to think about ethics as a set of rules. Don't get me wrong, rules matter. We need the guidance, we need the guidelines. Laws matter, absolutely. HIPAA matters. Licensure matters, documentation matters, emergency procedures matter. But what I've learned over time is ethics isn't primarily about rules, it's about preparation. Have you thought it through? What contingencies have you considered? Ethics is what you do before something goes wrong, not after, before. Because eventually something's going to happen, something unexpected. A client will log in from a different state. Someone discloses suicidal thoughts. Technology will fail at exactly the wrong moment. A parent will ask for information you don't believe should be released to them. A client will send a text message at 11:47 p.m. Someone will show up from a parked car. Someone will show up with someone else sitting quietly off camera. Someone will ask a question you don't immediately know the answer for. And in those moments, we rarely rise to the level of our intention, and we fall to the level of our preparation. That's why experienced clinicians often appear calm and are able to model the behavior they'd like to see in their clients. It's not because they know everything, trust me. It's that sense of becoming aware of what you don't know. The more I know that I don't know. And preparing for what you don't know and how you might bridge that. What else could happen? If video fails, could you use your phone? And so calmness in those moments comes from having thought through as many possibilities, as much preparation as possible before those moments happen. The chapter spent a lot of time talking about informed consent. I think that's one of the most misunderstood documents in counseling. Students often think informed consent is paperwork. I firmly believe informed consent is a conversation. It's a conversation about expectations, about boundaries, a conversation about what happens when technology fails, a conversation about emergencies, and of course, about confidentiality, a conversation about how we're going to take care of each other if something unexpected occurs. The form matters, but the relationship matters more. And if you've spent any time with me or had me in another course, you know Adler is probably about to make an appearance. One of the things Adler understood beautifully is that humans function best when they feel connected, included, and of value in a larger social system. Ethics, in many ways, is the structure in our discipline that protects that connection. It's easy to think of ethics as restriction, but I actually think ethics creates freedom. When expectations are clear, relationships become safer. I often hear new students, new counselors in training in their role play say to their role playing client, I want you to know, I want to remind you this is a safe space. And my gentle challenge and feedback is always, what does make a safe space? It's not telling our client it's a safe space. It's making sure they adequately understand the limits to confidentiality, that they understand the informed consent. That's what creates a safe space. When boundaries are clear, relationships become safer. When responsibilities are understood, people can relax into the work. Think about it this way. Imagine you're boarding an airplane. Do you want the pilot to be creative about safety procedures? Or do you want them to have a well-practiced plan? Probably you prefer the plan. Not because we expect something to go wrong, because if it does, we understand preparation really matters. Counseling is similar. The best ethical practice isn't paranoid, it's prepared. One of the most important lessons I've learned is that risk management isn't primarily about protecting yourself. It's about protecting the therapeutic relationship. It's about protecting your client. It's about protecting the work. And sometimes protecting the work means slowing down long enough to ask questions. Where are you located today? Who else is in the room? What would we do if we got disconnected? Who would I contact if I became concerned about your safety? Those questions might feel administrative, but they're not. They're relational. And every one of those questions communicates, I've thought about your well-being. And clients notice that. The chapter also talked about practicing across state lines and the importance of understanding laws where both the client and the locator are located. Where both the client and the provider are located. And that can feel really frustrating sometimes. But I've found that professionalism often means accepting responsibility for things we wish were simpler. And part of being a good counselor is recognizing that good intentions are not enough. Competence matters, preparation matters, due diligence matters. Most importantly, maybe, humility matters. Knowing when to seek consultation, knowing when to ask questions, knowing when to pause and verify instead of assuming. I've never worried too much about the developing clinician who asks too many questions. I've worried more about the clinician who believes they no longer need to ask any questions. What would that be about? That would indicate the counselor assumes they know. They're coming from the position of knowing rather than the curiosity of not knowing. As you move through this week's material, I'd encourage you to think about this question. What systems, habits, conversations help you protect the people who trust you with their stories. Because that's really what ethics are all about. Not avoiding mistakes, but creating the conditions where trust can flourish. We'll continue exploring that together. Be well. And until next time, when I meet you back here in the chair.